Progress on the state budget at the legislature may be in jeopardy after the House attached funding for a controversial birth control program that, as it passed the $25 billion budget. The bill now goes to the Joint Budget Committee that tried to get the combination between the Senate and the House together, but Republicans already have balked at the addition of the program. Patty, the budget is ginormous for the state of Colorado, and there's this one little, a $5 million program, that's nothing to sneeze at, but in a $25 billion budget, it's a pretty small section. Is that a poison pill? Is it going to throw off the entire budget?
Probably, but what we have here is people who are not going to be able to meet in the middle, and that's what they're going to need to do on a variety of different issues. So it's not just the budget. We've got the construction defects bill, the testing and pulling back on testing bills that are being considered, and I think it's going to get a lot uglier in the weeks to come. This program, which is $5 million well spent, I think, but we used to have it subsidized by a private donor. Maybe what we can do is ask the pot industry to put up the $5 million to pay for a really great program that will prevent pregnant people from walking into shops and buying pot. It seems an easier solution. I don't think we're going to see that happen either. We are instead going to have fights because it's not going to be how practical this program is and how much it has cut down on unwanted pregnancies and all the other issues that follow from there. It is going to be where some Republicans are going to draw a line in the sand and say we cannot possibly subsidize this. So we're going to hear a lot about it next week.
Amy, as you looked at this big budget and the Senate Republicans and the Democrats leading the House, is this going to be the issue they have a showdown over, or is this just one of many that's distracting everybody?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's not just Republicans that are pushing back. You have some Democrats that are concerned about how this process came along. Dickie Lee Hollinghorst, Speaker, even scolded her own caucus saying, hey, get together. This is one of our priorities. But here's the reality. We have a divided legislature. So you have Republicans in control of the Senate and you have Democrats in control of the House. Your JBC is 3-3. It couldn't be any more bipartisan. So my feeling is, and I could be wrong, but this will go to JBC and JBC will do what JBC does, which is decide. And I mean, we sort of play the charade where each chamber gets their say, and they may get a little give and take, but for the most part, and we'll hear more about this from our legislator on the panel, but JBC will probably—
Former legislator.
Yeah, former legislator. Sorry. I don't see this hanging up the budget. I see it being more of a political posturing, a news story that we all want to talk about. JBC will resolve it one way or the other, and it'll be done.
Eric, what do you think? Does JBC nip this in the bud?
I don't know how it ultimately gets resolved. It will. They're not going to scuttle a $25 billion budget over this. At some point, somebody's going to blink. The question is, when is that point and who's doing the blinking? I think it's both parties playing to their bases right now and trying to draw lines in the sand. On this one, I'm critical of the Democratic base on some issues. On this one, I happen to think they are right. I mean, both polls on the whole abortion debate, which is what we're talking about, can be wacky. And for the pro-choice movement, the notion, that some fully viable fetus has no rights, that's equally wacky. But here, you're trying to prevent teen pregnancies. The notion of IUDs as some kind of code for abortion, I don't get it. So I'm hoping ultimately that this thing does stay put. Patty analyzed it right. It started with private funding. Now you need the state to pick it up. In the big scheme of things, to prevent a fair number of teen pregnancies, it strikes me as a worthwhile financial investment.
Penn, you've seen behind the curtains. You've seen how all this works. What do you think is going to happen?
This is an interesting debate because typically the battle is there's not enough money to fund everything, but we're a victim of our own success because now we're pushing up against the Tabor limit. And what the JBC did this year is they actually set aside $5 million for each chamber to fund things over and above what was put into the budget. And so we're not watching legislators fight over a scarcity of resources. This is the allocation of money that was designed to let each chamber make a decision. This could be an interesting battle because what you've got is an existing program. So it's not a new program like some people have said. The funding source is different, but the program itself has remained. And so, but what's interesting here is the conference committee on this bill will be the JBC, but under the JBC rules, 2 members of each chamber have to approve it. And so since it's a 3-3 split, but it's 2 Senate Republicans, 1 Senate Democrat, 2 Democratic House members, and 1 Republican House member. So you've got to get at least one of the Republican senators to sign off on the compromise. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of lingered out there for a while. What the 2 chambers will do is, now that the budget's written, they'll start going into appropriation committee and start killing all the bills that they don't have money for. And we may see this hang out there for another week or so before it gets resolved. But Eric's right, someone's going to have to blink, because it's going to take 4 signatures to approve the budget with this funding in it.